We're going to do an oil change on this 2007 Arctic Cat Prowler 650 XT. Some things you're going to need. Oil, brake cleaner, paper towels, oil filter, a ratchet with a 3-inch extension will work with a 19mm. You could go with a longer extension, it'd be a little more friendly, but it'll definitely work. First step with any oil change, fire it up and let it run for a couple minutes. Now that it's run for a few minutes, I shut it off. You're just going to want to go underneath, driver's side, down below here. Forgive my terrible camera work. And there's 2 holes. You're going to want to go to the closest one to you. And inside there is a 19mm. And you're just going to want to pull it out of there and let her drain into your pan. Got the drain plug out of there, and it's draining. Pretty exciting. Drain plug is there, and it has a magnetic tip. We're going to want to clean that off, but I'll do that a little later. While this is draining, we're going to go up top and do some things up there. Back up top, I removed the seats and the center console. All that stuff just pops out. We're going to go over here to the dipstick. And I already cleaned around this. It's pretty oily. This whole engine's pretty oily. So there's oil and dirt. You want to clean around that before you open this up. And just let it hang there. It'll help vent so it drains more thoroughly. Back down below here, I got the drain plug. I'm going to spray it off with a little brake cleaner. And then wipe it off with a paper towel. You can see all that crap that was on the magnet. So make sure you just clean that really good. And this has a crush washer that I will be replacing. So you can always inspect it and see if it's damaged. I just like to replace them. They're cheap. I'll put a link. But anyway, before we put that back in, we're going to take the filter off. Okay, still have the drain bolt out, and it's still dripping a little bit. I'm just going to leave that out for now, and then we're going to go, I lifted up the box, and I'm going to go from underneath here. You can see the oil filter. Now, this engine happens to be really oily. It has oil leaks and stuff, so I had to clean off the filter beforehand, so you're going to want to clean around it and stuff, and then we'll clean it really good once we get that off. Just go in there and loosen it up. I already cracked it loose, and it's just going to make a mess. I think that's all there is to it. Get that out of there. So just to show you, that does, it just makes a mess. It runs down the block, and then it goes down into the pan. It will go down eventually into the hole and back into your drain pan, but it's still going to leave a mess. We're going to have to clean that up later. Okay, now I'm going to clean it down with some brake cleaner. So I'm going to spray the area. Get all the liquid stuff off, spray down the block. Again, this is already pretty oily. So we're just going to let that clean everything. And then once I got the... Sorry. Then I'm just going to wipe it down with a towel until it's clean. And then note that there's no gasket stuck to here. Make sure your gasket's on your filter and didn't stick to the block, because if you double gasket, you'll lose all your oil. Okay, now it's time for the oil filter. Normally I pre-filled the filters, but this one's in upside down. So I'm just going to get some fresh oil and oil up the gasket surface. So you're going to want to oil that up all the way around. And then screw it on. Ready to throw the oil filter on. Just thread her on there. threads are 6 miles long. Once it gasket touches, turn it about 3/4 to a full turn. And there you have it. Then you could do a better job at cleaning up this mess and the mess down there. Towels and brake clean are your friend. So now that the oil filter's back on, things are cleanish. I have my, oopsies, my drain plug that's cleaned with a new crush washer. And we're gonna stick it right back up into the block. I'm just gonna load it into my socket and thread it in there. You got to thread it up in there. It kind of was a little bit of a pain because of the depth, but it's in there, and I got it finger tight. And now we're just gonna go in there and with the ratchet and tighten it nice and snug. I don't know any of the specs on this thing, so right there, that's your torque spec. Now that all the dirty work's done, we're back up top, passenger side. Dipstick's still hanging there from before. I have a piece of cardboard here to set it on, so it's nice and clean. And then we'll toss in our fancy funnel. And I'm going to add, the spec I found was 2.6 quarts, but when you look online and just look it up, who knows if it's accurate. So I'll probably end up putting in 2.5. So I'm going to start by just adding a little bit of this. Oh, make sure your funnel doesn't fall out. And for this, I'm using AMSOIL PowerStroke 040. Use whatever oil type or weight that you want to use. I'm not telling you what to do. Okay, you got just shy of 2.5 quarts in there. So I put the dipstick back in. I'm going to fire it up and let it run for a minute or so, and then shut it off, let it cool, and then I'll check the level. While it's running, it's always a good idea to check for leaks at your filter and underneath. Make sure nothing's dripping, and we're good. So I had it running for a minute, shut it off for a couple minutes. Everything should be settled. There were no leaks, that's great. Pop out the dipstick. And then wipe it off. And then we're going to thread it in all the way. If I could even do that. There we go. Thread it in and then back her out of there. Let's see where we're at. Oh, look at that. She's right at the full mark. So 2.5 quarts, just shy of 2.5 quarts. In this case, did it. So you should be good with just buying 3 quarts. Anyway, thread that back in all the way. Put your console back in, your seats back in, and let her rip.